Hi, this is Andrea. I am the mother to a beautiful autistic daughter, and I believe in a better future for her and all other neurodivergent young people. So I hope this is not your first time listening, but if it is, I'm also one of the many parent advocates for neurodiversity in Oxfordshire, UK. Being an advocate allows me to use my voice for my daughter, for other parents, for neurodivergent individuals themselves, and for professionals. Welcome to Season 2 of the Neurodiverse Voices Podcast. Hi everyone, today is a very special day because I have someone who I really admire and she's an inspiration, and I met her about 1 year ago, and she might not know this, but somehow I feel like it was from the moment I met her that I started finding myself not only as a mother of a beautiful autistic daughter, but also started the journey of finding myself. I have the amazing Dee from Autism Champions. Hi, Dee.
Hi. That's
How
lovely.
are you?
I'm okay. I'm just going to start by saying how grateful I am to be here and how privileged I feel to be invited on.
Yeah,
I'm really privileged. So
thank you. It's amazing to have you here. So, Dee, can you tell me what has brought you here to this stage of your journey with neurodiversity?
Oh my goodness, I feel like it's been such an interesting journey. I don't know. I've always got autism. I just always got it. Only like last year did I realize I was autistic myself. Like, did I get my diagnosis?
Yes.
But probably about 5 years ago, I was like, okay, it's probably because I'm autistic myself. And then I did the whole waiting list and all of that kind of stuff. But I just always got it. I always be able to connect with kind of the different kids in my class, because I was a teacher initially. They were the ones I was interested in. The one in the corner who just did not want to engage, or the one who just found the strangest little things interesting, or the ones who had something so different that I just... Oh my God, I was completely and utterly kind of excited by them and how they saw the world. And again, probably because that's how I saw the world and didn't realise kind of that connection. And then I trained as a teacher, hated it. The idea of doing the same thing every day in a classroom just made me want to vomit. I think teachers are incredible because it is a really, really, really big skill to be able to teach a classroom full of kids. You know, I can teach one-on-one, or I can teach specific things that I'm interested in. Yeah. But to teach a curriculum, especially a curriculum you don't really have that much control over, you know, it takes skill. Like my daughter's teacher, she is gifted. Actually, both kids' teachers, amazing. And then I trained as a music therapist. And then I'm a prolific studier as well. It's kind of part of how my brain works. It's constantly going. I've got like 5 podcasts going at the same time. I've got like 6 books on the audio going at the same time while I'm reading 2 books. I'm just learning all the time, and my brain's doing that constantly.
That's actually interesting you say that, because with my daughter, for example, I find quite interesting that we have to have the trolls. Now the trolls band together, yeah. But she says band together. She needs to be listening to music on the phone, yeah, or watching YouTube videos. So there's always this multitasking. She's always very busy. And to me, I find that I would be overwhelmed. Yeah. So it's quite interesting that with you, it's the same.
Yeah. And I suppose I kind of flipped between, I'm craving constant engagement. And it's kind of, so I'm ADHD and autistic. So I've got that kind of both and, which is a real complex presentation as well, because you're constantly fighting the kind of desire to be organized and kind of routine, and I like this and I like it this way and this is really good, and I'm not big on surprises, and I don't mind change just as long as I'm able to do it in my own way, in my own time, and that kind of thing, and all of that massive sensory stuff. But on the other side, I'm really impulsive and I've just got ideas coming. So it's like this constant internal battle of, I don't know. But so having things going in my head helps me feel, I don't know, quite grounded.
Yeah, like a bit of in control.
But then the flip side is when I get kind of overwhelmed, my brain just needs nothing. Or it will need just pink noise is really good for me. So I just have pink noise on in the background.
What is that?
It's like white noise, but it's a slightly different frequency. Okay. So there's white noise, grey noise, brown noise, there's noise, and all the different kind of noises. And it's just like a. But for me, pink noise really helps my brain just go.
That's interesting. I'm learning already. Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference. Great. So how was it to be brought up without, you said that you always knew it and you always had the tendency, for example, as a teacher to, look more at or notice those children who might not fit in. How was it to be, to grow up without actually having a diagnosis, or how did the diagnosis change your perception?
Really interesting, actually, because I don't think, I wouldn't have been diagnosed back when, because I wouldn't be recognized as autistic. Yeah. I'm a very good masker. Yeah. I grew up learning how to mask. I'm very good at copying. I'm very good at knowing kind of how I need to be in situations. Mm-hmm. Either certain people around me who I don't mask around because I don't have to.
You don't have to, and that's amazing to know.
Yeah. And I don't do it deliberately either. It's not like I choose to mask. Mm-hmm. It's kind of just a protection mechanism where you just go into it.
Yeah, automatically.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the question. See? What was the question?
Yeah, how was it to grow up without a diagnosis?
So I wouldn't have got a diagnosis back then, okay? And I think getting a diagnosis for me was a big deal. I got it in just over a year ago, and actually it floored me. Even though I went in wanting it, mm-hmm. I went in seeking it, I went in kind of already knowing that there's a really high chance I'll get one. And when I got it completely floored me. Like that I had been hit by a train. Yeah. And I think there's something there about, there's something about the grief of not having had it earlier. For me, it was the grief of suddenly realizing that actually I'm okay. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
I am neurodivergent. I am wonderfully neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And it's just been a journey. And it's been a journey of the last 3 years, probably, really learning, 5 years, to learn to like myself for who I am, how I present in the world. If people find me a bit much, then people find me a bit much. But again, what I have to give to the world actually is special because it's mine and it's only mine. I think there's something as well about this idea that, yes, I'm autistic, but I don't know other people's autistic experiences. And I think that's part of, you will mention Autism Champions now in a minute, but one of our values is that we come as experts of our own experience, nobody else's. So I can come here today and I can talk to you about your own child and I can talk about you and all of that. But I don't know what it's like to be you. I don't know what it's like to be Melody.
That's very true.
And for me, it's about that kind of curiosity. And I think that's what I've always had, is that curiosity of trying to understand and see the other person's perspective and how they see the world. And then that can only add to my life, right? That can only help me understand myself more. And then how I relate to others.
Yeah. Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference. And a lot more people should be more curious about, because that would definitely change things.
If there was one thing I could do would really shift that idea of judgment to curiosity.
Yeah.
Because gosh, if we're just curious, then we move away from judgment immediately. There's no judgment in curiosity. Yeah. I was laughing the other day because I was thinking of, can you imagine in it's just post-election day when we're recording this, and can you imagine like Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer having the election debate, right? Mm-hmm. And if Keir Starmer turned around and said, Rishi, how was that for you growing up? It must have been really difficult for you as da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, tell me more about that. I'm really interested. Yeah. Okay. But that's the kind of conversations we need to be having.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know what it's like to be you. Like a teacher saying to a kid, this is what I see you're doing. I'm not understanding why you're doing it. If you can explain it to me, I'm really interested in working out why it is you're doing that. So then maybe we can find a way for you to be able to get what you need, but maybe not in the middle of a maths lesson when actually there is something to do and you're probably going to hurt yourself and somebody else.
Yeah.
But it's just that kind of idea of I am interested in what you have to say and how you present in the world.
And try to understand it, because even if you cannot put yourself in the shoes of that person, because our experiences and who we are is very unique to ourselves. Yeah. But yeah, and I think being kind and understanding.
Something yesterday, I said, if you can do nothing else, just be kind.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It is that simple.
Just be kind.
It is that simple.
Yeah.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference. Yeah. So how did Autism Champions came to an existence?
I moved from London to Oxford, was looking at jobs, kind of wanted to be an advisory teacher for the county. Met an amazing, one of the amazing advisory teachers there, and kind of had just a coffee with him, and there weren't any jobs, but there were going to be jobs coming up. But before I moved, I was like, what am I going to do? And at that point, actually, my uncle had passed away a little while ago, and I have a thing about ladybirds. So I decided, I'll just start my own company. Of course. Who does that? Who's just sitting? Who does that? Anyway, I'll just start my own company. Me.
Yeah, let's start my own.
And I got a little logo designed, and I then just printed out all of these flyers and then put them in all of these schools. And then I just emailed out and said, I'm going to do a training. And I got my local school to let me come and do it in their school. And I gave them a few free places. And that was it. And then just gradually I built up and people just heard about me, and then they said, oh, would you mind coming in? And then I did a lot of work with young people, work with schools, and then gradually it just grew and 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 grew. And now we are, I wrote something called Power to Parent in lockdown, which is a parenting, it's not a workshop, it's not a course, it's like, what is it? It's like a parenting framework, like a way you can kind of go and fall back into something and go, okay, that feels a little bit safer. I'll go that way. It's just something to kind of hold parents in when things are tricky and when things, and what it is different is that we actually ask the parents to look at themselves. We come from a place of it's not actually about your kid, it's about how you relate to your child. Now, whether your child is a speaker, a non-speaker, pre-verbal, whether they're 49 or whether they're 3, the relationship
and
is what
you look at your children.
Yes, you see a child differently, you see a different child.
Yeah,
that's it. And people are kind of saying, well, it's not that simple. I'm like, it's actually much simpler than we think it is.
Yeah.
It really is, and it doesn't cost a huge amount of money to kind of shift this thinking, but we're talking about systemic shifts here. We're talking about massive kind of paradigm shifts in thinking, and that just takes time.
Yeah.
But one person at a time will make a huge difference.
We need to start small.
Yeah, but then you have the little knock-on effects, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we will all be spreading the word, and there's nothing better than word of mouth and things like this podcast, for example, which might seem like it's nothing, but at least we are talking about it. And
I'm a bit woo-woo, but I am a bit of the idea that actually the energy that we're creating here today has a power in itself.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Just that energy will actually, something is shifting. And I love this idea because we do invite parents when they do this course, because CAMS commission us to do this course actually currently. Because CAMS are really trying to change things. They're really trying to think differently. They're really working so hard with what they've got to really do something different. And I'm just so impressed with, I kind of want education to come along with them. They're so behind for many reasons, no blame, but it's just interesting, isn't it? Kind of the systems that feel like they can shift and who's moving them and who's there kind of pushing that change. But so the commissioners, but when we invite parents in, we do start with the idea that we're not the experts on your experience, you're the expert, but we are going to ask you to take risks. We are going to ask you to lean in a little bit, and we'll ask you if it feels uncomfortable, that's a good thing, because if it feels comfortable, nothing's changing.
Yes.
And this is where I come to at schools as well. Well, it doesn't feel comfortable. I'm like, yay, okay, great. Uncomfortable means something is shifting, something. And it doesn't mean you need to do a massive shift. It could just be the tiniest little thing, and it will make a huge difference.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference. Yeah, and there's very old saying that life starts out of your comfort zone, and progress works exactly the same way. Absolutely. If you continue doing
the same thing.
The same thing
will always happen, right?
Yes.
And the thing is as well, I think lots of people kind of come and think that the change is going to happen immediately.
No.
It's not. And sometimes we might work with a family at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year we'll then get an email and say, it just landed.
Yes, it happened.
It just happened. Or it might be that we ask couples to come, like co-parents or whoever's all around the family, the wider the kind of system we can work with, the better, the more change that can happen. And we'll find that one parent is way kind of more open to the change. I'm gonna put it out there, gentlemen, you tend to be less open to the change, okay? And I know it's scary, I get it, because you haven't been kind of, I don't know, whatever way we have brought men up through the world, but you guys can be very, very resistant to change. And the women tend to be kind of really pulling it and pushing it, and the parents and the mums and all of that kind of thing. But gosh, we have, some of these dads have come in and it has been life-changing.
Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Oh.
And that leads actually to my next question. So I've been to a few of the webinars you offer. I think the first one was how to communicate with your autistic child. Yeah. That was very, very helpful. I love your weight theory or approach, which is...
What am I thinking?
What am I thinking? So stop before you react. And yeah, I was just going to ask you, so besides the power to parent, what else can Autism Champions offer to parents and to the young people as well?
Yeah, just stuff. So we obviously we offer power to parents, and you can get that one-to-one, or you can kind of get a bunch of parents together, and that kind of helps with cost and that kind of thing as well. We have peer mentors, young autistic people who have kind of like 18 to 24 who will work.
Like Hannah.
Amazing Hannah. So we've got hopefully we're going to take on a couple more of those at some point. But so Hannah will work with young people. And then we have other consultants who work alongside young people. So Kitty is a very kind of competent woman, and she does a lot of work through art and crafts. And she's very much she's anti-deficit, she's all about what can you do, what are you good at, let's take what you're good at, and then we will turn it into helping you with the things that you might struggle with, and that's all that focus on, you're awesome, you are great as you are, we just need to help you kind of manage in the current environment that you're in. We do training for schools, we do training for social care, we do training for anybody who wants to train, anybody at all, anything at all, and then the whole range of stuff, actually. We do some social care training as well, which has been really, really well received over in Wokingham.
Yeah, that's good. I saw the families one that you offer. I was already talking with my family, if we all chip in a little bit, we could go, there's my mom, there's aunties.
And you can get other families to come alongside you as well. So you could get, so what we've done is we've done it in a way that whereas if you get 6 families, it's actually really reasonable. Oh, right. It's just it's a lot to do. It's a lot of there's a lot of content. Yeah. But if you get 6 families, then, and also within that, the discussion that can happen is really powerful. Because you're hearing from other people's experience, and then you get to kind of bounce ideas and think, hold on a second. And then there's something that kind of dissipates that familyness. So sometimes if you get one big family, it can all be a bit, sometimes we tend to get into a bit more of relationships between the people in the family. And that can be helpful in itself. But again, it depends what you want to get from it. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing, obviously, we've got social media stuff, and we've got our webinar, which I really like.
Yeah. Yes, they are really good. Yeah, it's not just about the learning, but also you are in a space with other parents who understand you and
get you. Non-judgmental.
Yeah, and hopefully one day everyone will get us.
If I have anything to do with
it. I'm sure you do.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference.
My next question is, how do you feel about being autistic? But I actually think you answered that. Is there anything you would like to add?
It's a really interesting one, because actually I think still, even though for what I do and how passionate I am about it, there is that moment sometimes when I tell people, I'm looking for their response, because I know still there's a huge stigma around coming out as autistic. Yes. And it's this idea of what do we think autism is? Well, you're a little boy who likes to line up dinosaurs or trains, and, you rock in the corner, or you're non-verbal, or you're non-speaking, and there's so many myths about what it is to be autistic and neurodivergent. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's Barry Prezant wrote a beautiful book called Uniquely Human. And it's this idea that actually every single human being is unique. You know, and I'm constantly asking schools to tweak their language, to people to think about the language they use. Because, you know, I told somebody I was autistic and they were like, oh. I was like, oh, okay. Not quite sure. She goes, yeah, but is life not hard? And I'm like, yeah, but being human is hard, you know. But then it's really interesting and then there's the whole idea of people not believing you. You can't be autistic. I'm like, oh, pretty sure.
Oh, you don't look autistic.
You don't look autistic. Oh, I know. I left my autistic head at home. You know, I didn't wear it today. And I think it's a way of being human. And I think this idea, and I believe in diagnosis, absolutely do. I think if you want a diagnosis, go for it, you know, really go for it. I do believe that we shouldn't need a diagnosis to be able to get our needs met, you know, and I like this idea of kind of profiling, that you could profile who you are. You know, these are my needs, sensory needs, these are my kind of cognitive needs, these are my energy levels, these are my activity levels, these are my kind of executive function needs, these are this needs, these are this needs. And understanding that yourself, whether you've got a diagnosis or not, is absolutely powerful.
It's very important.
It's so important, and I know you probably weren't raised like that, but I wasn't raised like that. And no blame anywhere. It was just time, right? And people didn't think. Kids were seen and not heard.
Yeah, there was very little. I think I have a friend from my teenage years. She always worked at an autism association back in Portugal. Yeah. And she was probably the only person I heard about autism, and then another case here and there. But as you say, and as I said at the beginning, when I met you, that I started my journey of finding myself, you know, not being neurodivergent that I'm aware of. I think this applies to everyone, the way we grow up. I was thinking, so 2 nights ago, there is a Celine Dion documentary on Amazon Prime Video, and I always liked her. But I was always hiding with my friends that I liked Celine Dion, because everyone was like, oh, it's cheesy. Oh, it's, you know, no, Celine Dion, no. And I was singing it, and I always loved music and singing. Of course, my parents would know, and my family. Yeah. But in school, no, I had to like the cool stuff to fit in. Yeah. But similarly to you, I always had the tendency of, it was always easy to make friends for me. I am a people's person, and that's, you know, it was always like this. It will always be like that. But I always had the tendency for those kids who, you know, either they were chubby and they were being mocked. Also maybe because I have a very bad eyesight, and you can see my eye goes to the side a little bit. So I always felt empathetic with the difference. And also with my skin being very pale in Portugal when everyone is a bit darker, you know. But I grew up with people telling me, go to the beach, you know, This is me. This is me, exactly. So we are all unique. And the way we grow up, it's so important for who we become in the future, regardless of you being neurodivergent or not.
I think there's something about allowing people to be themselves, allowing people to be human, allowing people to like what they like. And I'm a big kind of proponent of you can like what you like just as long as it doesn't hurt other people.
Yeah, it's okay to like Celine Dion. She has an amazing voice. And when I was listening to her songs, I was like, oh wow, I still know all the lyrics.
I know all the lyrics. I'm sorry, I was a massive Celine Dion fan. But yeah, I know all the lyrics. But I have a thing about music though as well. It's a really kind of grounding thing for me. And I will find a song that just does something to my brain, and then I'll listen to it over and 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 over. And it's really interesting because, you know, Spotify at the end of the year does this thing where they show you how many songs you've listened to. And I was like, okay, interesting, because it shows you how many times you listen to certain songs. And so I have these I just go through it. I find one and I go, yes, that's doing something for my body. It's processing something. It's allowing me to do something. And no matter where I am, what mood I'm in, that's the song I need to go to. Yeah. And I've only really recognized that in the last couple of years. Yeah.
I think you need to tell me more about your music therapy experience, because I had no idea you were trained on music therapy.
That's really good.
I used to be a musician. That was my thing. I was trained. I did a master's in performance at Guildhall, and I did. I've done a lot. Done a lot. And the thing, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've no problem making friends. I have so many bloody friends. So many friends. People are like, oh, Dee will do it. I'm at the school gate. Everyone's saying, oh, who's going to be this class rep for next year? Dee will do it. Dee will do it. Dee will do it. And Dee's like, oh my God, I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. So I had this kind of persona that I'm kind of like this introverted extrovert. I'm not a big extrovert introvert fan the way we use that language because it's very black and white. I feel like there's very little nuance there. But I learned to please.
Yes.
I learned how to be with people. I learned that it exhausts me.
Yeah.
Oh
Imagine.
my God. And it absolutely exhausts me. And it's not that I don't like it. It's just the cost to me. Yeah. So I don't want to go to the pub and hang out with people I don't know. But I've got a bunch of friends, really core people who I will spend as much time as I can with. But again, they allow me, if I need to go and I'm just completely done, I will happily go and sit with my friends, but they won't expect anything from me. So I will come in and I will say, I am burnt. I have nothing. And they go, great. They'll give me a cup of tea or whatever we're doing, and I will just sit in silence.
And they let you be.
They'll just let me be. And if I need to walk around, and if I need to stim, and if I need to do whatever else, I'm just allowed to be me.
Yeah, not having those people poking you. Oh, are you okay? Oh, are you okay?
Okay, are you okay? Is everything fine? I said, yeah, I just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the people you don't need to mask because they are your core friends.
They're my people.
They are your people. Exactly. Yeah. Who is your biggest support?
Maybe one of those friends.
It's a really interesting one because actually I think I have a team around me at Autism Champions, which I built. I'm not sure how I built it, to be honest with you. It kind of just feels like it just happened, and it kind of just... And Holly, who's my business manager, she runs a business called Sycamore OBM, which is online business, OBS, online business solutions. And it's a neurodivergent specific to support neurodivergent businesses and entrepreneurs and all of that kind of stuff.
Which is very much needed.
Much needed. And another one called Lily, and she runs a company called Send It to Alex. And they're a neurodivergent and disability-led organisation, and they work with a kind of virtual PAs or VAs. And again, brilliant. So currently, Holly is such an important part of my life because, and there's Holly and there's Rose and there's Leanne, and they're all there, and I can go, so this is where I'm at in terms of energy levels, and they'll go, okay, and then Leanne will come in and my diary will be completely changed, and they'll say, well, we'll move that and we'll pop that over there, and then we'll just postpone that, and then Holly will say, right, where are we on this, and this, don't need to, so it's helping me, and I've never been able to say to people, I really need help, guys, I really need, because I've never allowed myself, so I'll just burn out repeatedly, burn out, and then I'll come back and I'll be like, wah! Burn out, you know.
It takes learning to...
And when you've got kids though as well, it's like I've got 2 girls and like they're 8. Oh my God, is she 8 or 9? I think she's 9. Yep, she's 9, just 9, and 5. And you know, they're still young, they're still in school, there's still a lot going on. So that takes it out of me as well. And I'm doing a postgrad. Who does that? I don't like, yeah, there you go. I used to see her face, so her face has just gone, what? I'm doing a postgrad in family systemic psychotherapy, so it's like, but so it's this idea, isn't it, that I can go and just lean on my people. I can lean on Holly and say, this is what I need, and there'll be no judgment. And I have this bunch of girls I swim with. So we go into a lake up and we go and swim and we get cold and then we just talk, and that is glorious.
That sounds like the perfect group.
And I have a beautiful partner who is incredible. And yeah, there I can just be whoever I need to be.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was hearing you saying all you do, and I'm not a good example myself because, I have so many hats.
You do, I know.
And I was actually thinking to do a master's as well eventually.
Yeah, I know. But the word is eventually, so I'm just like, pull it back. Yeah.
Yes.
I do have ideas, and then Holly's like, no, it's a great idea. Let's just pop it over there. And I have learned, I've been allowing myself to learn to say, I really like that. now is not the time, because I'm no longer trying to impress everybody, because I'm no longer realizing that I need to be different.
Yes.
I don't need to be any better than I am.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty happy with where I am, who I am, and what I'm giving to the world. Of course, I'd like to give more to the world. I'd like things to change, but I can only do that if I'm here.
Yes. And your health should be a priority.
Yeah.
And I think we need to show that. We need to show that everybody just needs to realize. And I think for our kids as well, our kids are tired.
Yeah.
Kids are tired. They get tired. They get overwhelmed. There's a lot going on. And being able to recognize that and help them kind of, I know we talk about regulating, and I kind of, it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, isn't it? Being able to regulate. But I think there's something about knowing what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And that's what we need to be teaching.
In the world these days is, there's so much stuff, so much media, so they have everything.
When I was a teacher, right, started as a teacher, I had a ridiculous amount of children in my class. I had something like 36 4-year-olds or something. I had a chalkboard and a pen, a chalkboard and a piece of chalk, right?
That was it.
That was it. And then they had all the little notebooks and things. Fair enough, I was in Ireland, but it wasn't that much different over here. And now you go into a supermarket and there's like 42 different types of cereal and 100 different types of toilet paper and 400 different types of detergent. And it's just like,
There's too much choice around.
the world has just become a kind of a sensory nightmare. And this is why I think we have more of the autistic kind of ADHD, neurodivergent profiles kind of being raising up, being more apparent, because the world has completely upped the ante.
Yeah.
And we can no longer just sit in a classroom where there's something from this direction and something from this direction, something from this direction, something from this direction, and the expectations on our kids these days
Are too high.
on us as well. Massive.
Yeah.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference.
So, in the middle of all of this you do, when you have time for yourself, what do you do? So you mentioned going swimming in the lake. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I love water. Is my happy place. Very happy in water. I love spending time with my kids. Watching currently My Little Pony is a big one. Hang out with my kids. Water, reading, listening. I love listening to stuff. Learning. I'm all about learning. And I like being still, so I meditate. I go on silent retreats, and I really like that. That's been a new thing for me last couple of years, and that's been life-changing, actually.
Yeah.
I wish I could meditate.
So sitting still.
I know. I can for 1 minute.
It's 1 minute. That's all you do. 3 breaths, that's all you need. 3 deep breaths.
But I know how important it is, because when I was doing it regularly, even if it was just, putting a timer, 5 minutes, focus on the breath, it was,
It resets, doesn't it? It resets something, yeah.
I remember I've done a meditation retreat when I was at university here in Oxford, in Headington somewhere. A friend convinced me to go. It was a full day. I hated it so much. I was like, I feel like a zombie. This is not for me. I just want to sleep. But back then I had no understanding whatsoever.
Yep.
And now I cannot, I can't even do, now that I wanted to do it, I can't even do more than 5 minutes. But meditate, people, because it helps.
And I think meditation isn't about being kind of getting rid of everything in your mind. It's actually just being aware of what's in your mind.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
You don't need to do anything. You don't need to fix anything. Just notice and breathe.
Yeah.
And you don't need to sit cross-legged either. No. My God. Lie down if you have to. Yeah. Do
Lying
walking. Walk meditation.
Yeah.
Cook meditation.
Yeah.
So who is your biggest inspiration? I'm quite curious about this one.
I don't know if I have many. I have loads of different little ones. So I'm a massive fan of Brené Brown. I just think she challenges people. Do you know Brené Brown?
I've heard.
So she's an author. And she's written some incredible books, and she's done podcasts. But she challenges, so she's a shame and vulnerability researcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, another of my guests, Cheryl, I think it was Cheryl, she mentioned she has something on Netflix.
Yeah, so she does, yeah.
That I was supposed to go and watch, and I didn't.
It's very good. So Brené Brown has always been like a kind of a go-to for me. I listened to a podcast called We Can Do Hard Things, and it's Glennon Doyle, Amanda Doyle, and Abby Wambach. And they're three kind of incredible women who are always willing to look at things differently. Mm-hmm. I just think that's incredible. I'm a big fan of Bell Hooks. I don't know if you know Bell Hooks. No. It's, again, an author. There's kind of nobody who just really stands out. Oh, I think my kids are an inspiration, actually.
Yeah, sometimes they are the ones who are closest to us.
I watched my little one the other day, and she was going to the park, and she had her swimsuit in one hand and a teddy in the other, and she was skipping along, and I was like, that is joy, and that is like
being happy,
being live. That is it. And I was like, okay, let's just channel that one.
Yeah.
You know. And then my other daughter is just this incredible, beautiful empath, and just the way she sees the world is just incredible. So yeah.
I think my daughter is an inspiration for me as well. Yeah, she does the skipping a lot as well.
Who do things like, I want to do a podcast. I'll do a podcast. I love that. I love people who say, I'm going to do something, and I do it.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah, but even if you're nervous, and even if you're like, oh my God, why do I do this? I think there's something incredible about people who actually, even though you think, oh, this isn't going to make much of a difference, it's just that tiny little things that you're going to do. Yeah. Incredible.
Small things matter, and I truly believe that, and they are more important than anything else. Yeah.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I don't know if you are into Marvel or DC superheroes. If you were a superhero or you had a superpower, who or what would that be?
I think I would be able to speak any language on the planet. Any language at all. So if someone came in and was speaking Urdu, I could speak Urdu. Any language at all, that would be my superpower. A linguist, that makes me so excited.
Yeah. And then you could raise awareness in every single language.
Every single language. And with the nuances, not like a learned language, that kind of being able to be in the language, which means that you kind of know the culture, like it's just... You get it. It's not just like a textbook language. It's, okay.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I love languages as well, even though, now I can only speak to and understand to others. Yeah. And what are your hopes for the future, Dee?
Like I suppose professional hopes and personal hopes are quite different. I think professionally, I would like to train as a family systems therapist eventually, like a full-on, fully fledged. I think I'd really, really like to be part of a shift in how we see education and how that supports our autistic and neurodivergent community. Because it not only links with kind of the education learning thing, but it links with kind of mental health and families and the justice system. And, if we look at so many young people within the youth justice system are neurodivergent, either undiagnosed or diagnosed, and they just, they're misunderstood. They haven't had the right support at the right time, and then they've ended up in situations where they haven't been safe, and then they end up kind of getting stuck in these cycles and systems where they have no power. Yeah. So for me, it's the kind of a big thing for me would be looking at people being able to recognize, especially within education, and I'm not just talking about Oxfordshire, I'm just talking about education in general, how we view education, that it's not about taking knowledge and imparting it and sticking into other people's brains. Education has got to be bigger than that. It's got to be more about how can I learn to be human in this world? And then that's all about how do we see power. There's a brilliant new book out called, and I can't remember the name of it, it's called It's Not Fair, and it's about how adults see children or treat children. Mm-hmm. And she talks about adultism, and this idea that there's a massive power differential between the adult and a child. And I don't see the power difference. I don't see there should be. We are all equal in the sense that we're all born human beings. Yeah. And yes, someone might be 5 and someone might be 45, but actually both people's experience of the world is as valid as the other. They're just coming from different perspectives.
Yeah, because the experience will be different.
Absolutely. And if you're from the same family, your experience is going to be different, you know? And I think there's something there about really rebalancing that power dynamic within education. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
And of course, I want to write a book, and I want to do a podcast, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this.
I'll help with the podcast.
Brilliant. Perfect.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference.
I'm actually quite curious because we were talking about music. This question is not in my script of questions.
Okay.
But I'm going to run out of the script because that's okay.
That's fine.
If you could name a song, it's probably going to be impossible.
Okay.
A song that really remarked you or that really is really powerful to you.
Oh,
And I'm going to come up with something, I don't know.
So my current song that I'm obsessively listening to is called Damage. And it's by Tish Melton, who's a kind of a new artist. I think she's 18. She's a singer-songwriter. And she sings this song around, it's about masking. And it's about people-pleasing. And it's about putting herself, like one of the lines is, I'm equipped to handle your damage.
Okay.
And I feel like that's been somewhere I've been, is that idea that actually I've been in that position of trying to fix other people and trying to fix other people's stuff or trying to fix things for people. And actually that devalues me as a human. And I think when we put other people first, we're not putting our own value first. And it's not about being cruel or unkind or like selfish. You know, I would rather be selfish than selfless, because selfless means you have no self. You know, so you do need a bit of selfish to be able to know yourself. So then once I'm kind of good with my stuff, I can be there for other people. And that's not a lesson that is forthcoming, because, you know, especially mothers are meant to just kind of martyr themselves. You know, do everything for your children. If your children are happy, you'll be happy. No. Bullshit. I didn't swear at all. That was my first swear word. I tend to swear a lot. So yeah, and that's true, you know, and I think that's another thing, especially for the autistic neurodivergent parents, families, mothers, you know, when you don't know you're autistic and you're pregnant, that's another big thing we need to get into. Those perinatal, like prenatal stuff, perinatal stuff, really need, like this whole neurodivergent stuff needs to be just absolutely intrinsic to everything we do within society.
Yeah, it's all intertwined, isn't it? Yeah.
Again, it just goes back to that idea of being human, and your experience of a human being is your experience. No one can tell you haven't experienced it. You know, it's how then we allow people to have that experience and then not deny it. And we need to validate it. Doesn't mean we can do anything about it. Doesn't mean we can change anything. But even just that acknowledging that actually, yes, that was your experience is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, that's very true. And you just reminded me, I've been doing some autism talks in my daughter's school to the children. Because we parents, we talk about it, and, you know, more and more we get together and we have this fantastic community. But the children, not so much. So I've done a few sessions and just caught up with one of the school teachers who told me that she saw the difference, that in a meeting, an EHCP meeting, one of the children was saying, no, I'm autistic, and that's okay.
Nice.
And that made me feel so happy. And, you know, a simple presentation, you know, where I even talked about the Trolls, the world tour, for example, where they, I don't know if you've watched.
I do know
it.
it, yes.
We all do, if we are parents.
Yeah.
You know, our differences matter, but we can all live in harmony together, as long as we acknowledge and we understand.
Yeah, need to be the same as everybody else.
Exactly.
And I think my friend Gwyn told me this, is like fairness isn't things being the same, it's people getting what they need.
Yeah.
You know, things being fair is not about things always being the same for everybody. And this idea of inclusion, I'm not a big fan of the word inclusion, because I feel like if we're talking about inclusion, we're missing the point, you know?
Okay.
Or we're such an inclusive school. Well, if you're an inclusive school, then this idea that we work really hard to include those who don't fit into the box. I'm like, Or just dismantle the box and just let people be. you know? So again, inclusion really ties into this idea that things need to look like this, and to be able to include people, we have to change it. So it's a really kind of nuanced thing, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, because I use the word inclusion very much in what I say.
And that's how it's understood, isn't it? Yeah. But again, if we really look at it, if we're being inclusive, we shouldn't even need to think about inclusivity.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah. We shouldn't need to change anything.
Well, we need to change a lot, don't we? But absolutely, it shouldn't be because, oh, well, they're a problem, we need to change something. Or there is a problem because of this child or because of this person. It's more like, okay, I wonder what's going on there. And how do we empower the child to make decisions? Yes. Children making decisions for themselves? What? How do we empower those children? Because they know. They can tell us. Maybe not even in words, but they can tell us. We just need to watch, observe what's going on, and they will tell you exactly what they need. Babies can tell us, so I don't understand why we don't listen to other young people.
Yeah, that's true. And communication is not all about speaking. Or
parents, as parents of tiny kids, we're constantly curious about, I wonder why he's crying. I wonder whether this. And it's just like the minute they start to speak, we lose that curiosity. It's like, well, they can tell us now.
Can they? Yeah. They might do, but they might not do.
I don't even know how I'm feeling half the time.
As a fairly capable grown-up, and I've worked on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, imagine children.
Neurodiverse Voices Podcast, celebrating difference.
Okay, final question. If your heart had a voice, what would it tell us?
If I heard a voice, what would it tell us? I think we talked about this right at the beginning, didn't we?
I think be kind is probably. Be curious.
Be kind and be curious.
Yeah. So Brene Brown, and that's just come to me now actually, Brene Brown has this be awkward, brave and kind. That's her go-to. Mm-hmm. Be awkward, be brave, be kind. Being awkward means we actually are curious with that uncomfortableness. We're willing to be uncomfortable. Like, be brave. This idea of being brave means we are going to ask questions that might not feel easy to ask, and then do it in a kind way.
Yeah, that's the perfect combination of how we should be.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, T.
Thanks, amazing. So much fun.
It was so much fun. Just a chat.
Honestly, I could do this all the time. This is my jam. Yeah.
Well, we can try to arrange once per month, for us to catch up and record a podcast. It would be.
Watch this space, people.
Dee is taking over the Neurodiverse Voices Podcast. I don't want any other guests. No, I'm joking.
No. We do want to hear people's voices. We really do. Yeah.
It's voices, not just one voice or two voices. So yeah, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to have you here, and
very privileged. Thank you.
And I look forward to catching up with you soon. I hope we can do this again, and I'm sure we will.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Bye.
I don't know about you, but I love her. There was Dee, the first autistic adult I ever met, who since then became a source of information, inspiration and hope by being awkward, brave and kind. I hope you have learned from Dee in this episode as much as I learn from her every time I see her, and from Autism Champions when I join their webinars. I love how Dee is simply herself. Like her, there are many autistic women and girls who still have to mask to fit in. So let's continue using our voices to normalize being different. And I will end with a quote from Dee. If you can't do anything else, just be kind. It's that simple. Wish you a wonderful weekend, and I hope to have you on that side in 2 weeks' time for the next episode with Mark from Oxford Creators. See you then!